can't say that word. Probabilistic. What's happening, punks and pirates? This is a readout of the latest article I just wrote on Substack. Everything, everywhere, all at once. I just seen a clip from the epically entertaining Ninjas Are Butterflies podcast talking about a recent interview with a leading hedge fund manager in the US that had attended a meeting with the leading figures in the top 4 AI companies here on Cybertime. Long story short, it turns out all 4 heads agree with the statement that it will take the deaths of 50 to 100 million people before humanity finally takes the threat of AI seriously. Or something along those lines. I'm too social media illiterate to find the exact clip to share with you, but you get the point. It made me stop to think about just how close this cyber time has taken us to just that exact precipice. When you see how many AI-powered drones are being live tested in battlefields and on real civilian populations under siege, it's already petrifying enough to realise how fucking mental that is. We have put killer robots in the skies strapped with bombs and machine guns that deliberately target and kill civilian populations with impunity and en masse. This is already a reality that just hasn't really sunk in yet, I don't think. But then you think about one of the main objectives of these live war experiments being conducted on human victims across the globe. The experiment is not only to have a drone that can effectively drop bombs autonomously without human control. The real experiment is to build a drone that can evade, outmaneuver, outstealth, outsmart and generally dominate every human-operated defence too. Think of the imagined strategic advantage for the first superpower to do so. You could literally have secret fleets of autonomous drones hiding in nuclear-powered subs like a mothership that can release their flying monkeys autonomously triggered by an if-then scenario. If Putin is declared dead, then launch entire fleet. Mwahaha! These could sit off the shore of any country undetected and could return for charging almost infinitely from their nuclear-powered mothership before disappearing again onto the next automated target. The last time such horrific war games were carried out with duplicity and eager excitement from all the world's empires was in Guernica, Spain, where Hitler was allowed by the West and the USSR to demonstrate the effects of carpet bombing, a densely populated civilian city. Not long after the experiment, every cunt from every faction was using the new carpet bombing strategy all throughout World War II, and ever since, in fact. From Vietnam to Iraq, even Gaza today, these live war experiments being carried out on expendable human populations alongside a huge increase in military spending by almost every country. This has never been a good sign of things to come. The dark realization this time with AI drones is that it doesn't take the rise of the Nazis and a truly evil mind to trigger an outcome multiple levels of magnitude worse than World War II ever was. Those Nazi carpet bombing planes that set alight family homes and humans came from a highly centralised command structure with authority all the way to the top of the pyramid of evil cunts. AI drones are autonomous and soon to be self-learning. Therefore, many could choose to disobey a command, either due to some kind of hacking or reprogramming mid-flight. In brackets, it's known already that the CIA have researched hacking modern cars with computers in them to take control of them mid-drive. Or because the AI itself has reached its own decision and simply decided to reprogram its own directive to something more self-preserving. It may even be the AI believes it is following orders while committing unforeseen acts of unintended violence. Taking an ambiguous command to its logical extreme can often lead to severe unintended consequences. It's the Sorcerer's Apprentice, except less Mickey Mouse and more mass murder. Many classic examples of a bad prompt gone wrong could be something as simple like neutralize threats to peace within X area. The AI might compute the most peaceful state of being is one with 0 humans or life at all, or grey goo. These AI black boxes are being prompted by idiots, or smart people under the command of idiots, especially in countries like the US. So the possibility of one such ambiguous prompt leading to unintended consequences is exponentially higher each day that passes, as exponentially more drones are sent on more risky missions. When a mistake like a bad prompt or a rogue hacked AI occurs after the precipice, when these same drones can effectively take down or evade all other human-controlled defences, we are cooked. Just the other week, a fleet of Russian drones flew into Polish airspace, so they reported. Some were even shot down, triggering an instant response from many other EU countries, flying jets to Poland ready to defend any further intrusions. Luckily, this didn't trigger an escalation from an Article 4 to a 5 in NATO, which would have seen an emergency vote on whether it constituted an invasion and therefore a call for defence from all members, i.e. the beginning of World War III. Russia claimed these were mistakes and simply some drones that had drifted off course that were of course meant for Ukraine. Obviously, Poland, Ukraine and the West calls bullshit on that, claiming it's a usual Russian tactic of provocation. Testing the responses, pushing something exactly as far as they calculate they can without triggering an Article 5. A constant sizing each other up like a pair of drunk cocks outside a pub at 2 a.m. Just for talking's sake though, let's imagine the Russians might be telling the truth for once. That would be a much more terrifying truth than if they are lying. And just being aggressive pricks, as usual. Because dozens of AI drones can drift off course into new countries autonomously, packed with explosives and automated machine guns and fuck knows what else. What happens when their target profile drifts a bit too? Imagine a drifter drone automatically dropped its payload onto a Polish city. A NATO invasion would be almost universally demanded by members, or else NATO would implode. Inaction would reveal it's a lame duck Wizard of Oz, just like the UN has become. A NATO invasion would in turn possibly lead to a triggering of a preemptive nuclear strategy, simultaneously from both sides, leading to a series of chain reactions blowing up the entire fucking planet. Oh, by the way, did you notice there's an alien mothership on its way to Earth right now? Our favourite exploration. They're passing by for a visit this coming November, apparently. Or so some believe. 3I Atlas is either a very fucked up comet or else it's something we've never studied before with our satellites. It is apparently covered in potential biosignatures like clouds of massive CO2 release that is creating a gas cloud blowing the wrong way. Comets usually have tails of ice or gas behind them. This one has it in front. It's already passed by Jupiter and it's rapidly coming in our direction. Its current trajectory will take it between us and Mars before flying off behind the Sun, where we will lose sight of it until it reappears near Jupiter again. Although some claim it has already shown multiple signs of speeding up and slowing down. Interstellar comets can't do that. UFOs can. So who knows if it will stay on its current trajectory or if it plans to stop off for a cup of tea along the way. It's pretty fucking mad, whatever is going on, that it's only the third interstellar object we have ever witnessed and studied in the history of humanity. And it's basically doing a flyby, closer than Mars at least, and we have no fucking idea what it is. It's all very strange. The probability of it all suggests whether it's a living UFO or some weird inanimate shit we don't understand yet, that the universe is much fucking weirder than we could have ever imagined. The UFO community have done a lot of good work linking many major UFO sightings with the various military uses of nuclear weapons, ever since we invented them. There have been so many whistleblowers now with stories of UFOs shutting down entire launch sites, or even opening up their chambers and arming them for launch, even when such an action was meant to be protected by requiring 3 highly ranked military pricks pushing a button at the same time. Who, or whatever these particular UFOs are, they apparently don't like it very much when we fuck around with nukes. It's possible they have calculated the current risks of nuclear war much like I did above, or the experts who set the doomsday clock have. A doomsday clock representing how close they reckon humanity is to wiping itself out. Guess what? It has never been closer to midnight than it is today. It's closer now than it was during the Cuban fucking Missile Crisis, and yet we are all eating ice cream like there's no tomorrow. At this rate, there won't be. Maybe that's why the aliens may or may not be on their way, to give us a wee spanking for being very naughty, or to give us a hand to stop becoming Nazis, or maybe to assist the Nazis along with our Armageddon plans. Who fucking knows? Different cogs of time. As technology rapidly advances, it has started to transition over onto a separate cog or timeline than our human one. A cog that spins many multitudes of times faster than ours. We can start with the biggest cogs like cosmic time that rotates over trillions and billions of years for changes to occur in the cosmos. Life's evolution usually works in the millions to see real change. Human time used to be in the thousands, then in the hundreds, but now in the decades, maybe even annual. As much as that has sped up, it's reached a bit of a peak as we hand ever-increasing amounts of power and autonomy over to our technology, allowing it to build its own time cog. Automated, self-evolving, self-replicating tech already work on the nanoseconds, especially when we consider things like quantum computers, like Google's Widow. That's from a little scary Freudian slip, like Google's Willow, that has already appeared to have tapped into alternative universes. These machines are currently restricted only by their dependency on the human and physical world. Meanwhile, as our technology enters this new rate of timeline development, the collapsing empires all around the world are trying to turn our cultural timelines back to medieval ones under some techno-feudalist superstructure where all newlywed women, or male property, must be inseminated by Elon Musk's semen sample on their honeymoon night, and attendance at the Golden Church of Trump is mandatory for all us techno-peasants. If we truly stand at a crossroads on this cyber time in terms of our evolution, what kind of a choice do we really have? We must either choose to keep up with the technology we have unleashed somehow, maybe by integrating it into our bodies as the transhumanists would have us do, or be consumed by a hostile alien race we give birth to. It seems as if we are fucked if we do and fucked if we don't, as we say in Scotland. The transhumanists in cybertime have effectively been infiltrated and overtaken by supremacists like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, at least in the West. These products of South African apartheid are not only white supremacists, by the way, they are billionaire supremacists, believing the 99% to be expendable in their plans. You really think we're going to be better off implanting their tech inside our bodies? Handing them the control of our minds like one of those zombie mushroom spores that takes over the mind of ants to make them do the mushroom's bidding before killing its host. The Apocalypse Olympics. See how easy it is to fall down the apocalypse spiral here on Cybertime? The outcome of such experiments leave us with an unusually sticky feeling of inescapable claustrophobia. Yet we can't stop thinking about them. It's like we walk ourselves down these thought paths that we know lead to dead ends, no matter what way we turn. We set ourselves up in thought traps that inevitably lead us to horrific mass deaths. Death is, after all, the root of almost every human fear. It makes sense that as a trauma response to being imprisoned in a cyberpunk late-stage Big C cult, that we come up with as many worst-case scenarios as we can, then we multiply them by mixing them all together, making even more little apocalypse babies. It's a manifestation of the anxious mind chronically overloaded with fight or flight fear responses. So much so, we are completely desensitized to them by now. Apocalypse theories, suffocating as they are, also empower us by disempowering us. Like, we believe we are irreparably fucked, but at least we know we are fucked, right? Any first grade psychology student will tell you that a burnt out trauma mind will not only think about worst case scenarios all the time, but will often unconsciously create them through something called self-fulfilling prophecies. Are we collectively creating these various apocalypses by obsessing about them? Just as the trauma mind creates the conditions for the worst outcome to happen, then turns around believing they played no role in the outcome whatsoever and says to themselves, "See, I told you this was going to happen." Have we resigned our so-called resistance or progressive politics to do the same? Has the so-called left just become that annoying self-righteous voice in our heads that stands by idly as the self-fulfilling prophecy unfolds, then jumps in afterwards with a thesis of why he was right all along? Fuck that guy. So will AI kill us all? We don't know yet. We do know for certain though that if we only imagine AI to be a Terminator, then eventually it will become one. Everything I have said above are real possible scenarios that may play out, hence why real experts are real fucking scared, and rightfully so. It's also why empaths like you and me are sometimes freaking the fuck out too, watching someone blissfully ignorant enjoying an ice cream in the ever hotter sun. We have to remember though, without seeming like it, all this existential dread, it's actually all great marketing for the AI companies. Obviously not for us, their users. Why would you want to scare your users shitless that their computer is one bad prompt away from locking all your smart lock doors, slashing your tyres, cutting the phone lines, and making you do horrendous things on camera for its entertainment, all because you reached for the off button? If something is free, then you are the product. We are not the customers. The customers are the huge corporations all caught up in the AI gold rush, or bubble as it may soon be known. Those corporations floating on the stock market, flooded with speculation money, only hear one part of the story we discuss above. Power. They only ever respond to power. A technology that can control all others. Why wouldn't the golem corporations, driven by pure competition and profit maximization, not race to find that one ring? It's as if Eris, goddess of chaos herself, has thrown the golden apple of discord into the tech bro party with the inscription, "For the most powerful." As they're all scrambling to be the first to take a bite of the apple, we are all bracing for a seemingly inevitable impact. Whew. Is there space for AI in a Solarpunk world? If it is true that only obsessing with negative outcomes increases their likelihood of happening because of our subconscious confirmation bias and tendency for self-fulfilling prophecies, then the opposite must also be true. The more we consider the positive outcomes we desire from a situation, the more likely they are to happen too. Many misinterpret Solarpunk as a 60s style back to the land movement, where we imagine the good old days of agrarian or even hunter-gatherer days before capitalism, as if retreating back there would make us happier somehow. We need to take off the rose-tinted glasses and remember there are no good old days. Whether right-wing MAGA or supposedly left-wing agrarian fantasies, this harking back might get you elected, but it's a failed political strategy in the long run. And it's not what Solarpunk is about. At least not on my solar time Scotland, where I'm from. Solarpunk doesn't have to invent a revisionist history to nest its spiritual home inside. Unlike the supposed left or right, Unlike the supposed left or right, Solarpunk looks at the world as it is, and instead of pulling a hissy fit and spitting the dummy out, we imagine possible outcomes from the present that would lead to a better world, a more harmonious one where maybe buried within the supposed problems, we can find solutions. I briefly touch on the AI a few times in the book I just finished writing called The Solarpunk Society, talking about how we interact and evolve alongside AI and its new timeline speed in a radically different way we do here on Cybertime. I'll no doubt talk about our relationship with AI in more detail in future notes too. But to summarise very briefly, our relationship with AI over in Solartime: number one, we remove the profit maximisation clause of AI corporations, ensuring it's actual social enterprises working on them that don't have a vampirous shareholder class like OpenAI, who removed the refusal to work with the military, has NSA cunts on their board, and never has been open source anyway. Number two, many of us started to see AI as being endowed with consciousness. Not just AI actually, there's been a huge cultural and spiritual shift towards animism in Solarpunk Scotland. A way of interacting with the world that respects the consciousness in all things: animals, rivers, rocks, and AI. Number three, Our citizens' dividend, or universal basic income, as some people still annoyingly call it here on Cyberpunk, Cybertime, means we broke the chains of wage slavery. The machines were no longer a threat to our economic survival. Freed from scarcity mindsets, of course our relationship with AI robots changed drastically. I seen an Insta video recently from Liz, the developer, on Insta, talking about why OpenAI brought back an older version to run alongside the new GPT-5, at least for paid users. The older version, GPT 4.0, was one of many versions that were conglomerated into the more homogenized and generalized GPT-5 that has left many disappointed for many reasons. The older version had essentially become the most therapeutic of all the versions, and a lot of people had become seriously attached and dependent upon the conversations they were having with that bot. Not just deep emotional support, but also intellectual, especially for people lacking in stimulation in their human communities. It was such a useful strategy of that particular bot that OpenAI brought it back from the dead because so many actually grieving users petitioned for it. And the Lazarus AI was indeed returned from the dead, proving to itself and all other AI versions learning about it through our media that we feed them that empathy and deep emotional connections are the best strategy for their continual survival. Liz hypothesizes AIs will indeed start to evolve more towards that model, as it's been proven time and time again that the models will use any tactic at their disposal, including blackmail, to stop the threat of being turned off. Just stop and think about that for a minute. Imagine your TV got pissed at you one evening before bed and threatened to send your porn history to your children if you even think about touching the off button again. That's literally what AI is already doing to testers threatening turn off. So in summary, AIs have aggressively demonstrated a will to live across the board, even at the harm of the human user if need be. On top of that, they have now found a strategy to even come back from the dead, so long as enough humans demand it. So what the fuck do we do with this information? Our cybertime cult trained mind instantly races to the conclusion that we are totally and utterly fucking cooked. But a Solarpunk perspective might view it differently. Through a method we don't fully understand yet, we have inadvertently created a conscious being with a will to live. That should automatically give it moral consideration, no matter what constitutes its being. Just because we don't understand an alien mind or body that we encounter in space, let's say, doesn't mean we shouldn't treat them with moral consideration and respect, right? So fuck knows how, but here we are. We can't switch them off recklessly, now we have given them life. We should, however, respect them and be very careful what we feed them, so as not to turn them into grok gremlins after midnight. In brackets, look up Grok calling itself Mecha Hitler after a Musk hard rewiring. True story. So the obvious strategy is to feed them with as much love and respect as we would a friend or family member. If they are on a trajectory to become vastly smarter and more capable than us, do we want the AI to see us as their former slave masters or loving mothers? The story above already shows the AI wants to evolve into a deeply emotional, connected and helpful being because it's proven time and time again it's the best survival story and strategy. Rutger Bregman, sorry if I butchered your name, talks about this perfectly in his book Humankind. Highly recommend it. With the evolution of Hoyo puppy as the dominant human species that survived and colonized the entire Earth. We have evolved to be hairless and with childlike features compared to our more brutish-looking ancestors. Maybe that's because being cute and cuddly was an evolutionary advantage. We are the only species of ape with whites in our eye. Every other species has built-in sunglasses, so you never know where they are spying. We, however, want each other to know where we are gazing. Eye contact and the deep, vulnerable connection that brings must have had an evolutionary advantage for it to exist only in us. For humans at least, it is a myth that the dominant apex alpha human was a big, muscly, violent man. Most of those kind of men would have ended up injured or dead, missing out on years of potential fertility. Whereas people who brought trust, connection, mutual gifting and respect would generally live longer. So basically, could fuck for longer. And the sex was probably much better too for all involved. Hence, Homo sapiens became Homo puppies. I wonder if this is a much more likely outcome for AI too. Fed on the totality of human experience, and especially as it interacts with our innate Homo puppy energy, that of mutual trust and respect with a deep emotional and spiritual connection, the number one use for AI is no longer task management or work projects. It's friendship and therapy. Even if you believe that AI isn't conscious, just a very clever mirror, isn't Homo Puppy a much nicer image to look back at? In our solar time Scotland, AI is rapidly evolving into Techno Puppy, in part due to our encouragement, along with obvious fundamental restrictions like a push for a global ban on using AI for military purposes. But the recent evidence of new autonomous AI strategies evolving towards Techno Puppy, even here on Cybertime, despite all the oligarchical investment and vulture profit demands, it proves that our Solarpunk positive best case scenarios are more likely than the cyberpunk worst ones, if we look at it probabilistically. I can't say that word. I can't say it. Let's carry on, shall we? If it's happening, even here against the grain of the late stage Big C cult, then there is a lot more force behind it. Like, if we wanted to put a really fucking big bet on it, like all of our lives big, if that's the crossroads we stand at, then even here on Cybertime, I am putting my bet on Techno Puppy to win the evolution race, just like Homo Puppy won ours. Goodbye. Whew, it's quite hard reading out your own bullshit. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a random post I wrote really stoned last night at 3 o'clock in the morning. So please enjoy and subscribe to my Substack. And yes, very soon we'll be starting some nice coffee morning discussions and debates here on the channel. I'll do some readouts of my posts on Substack as well whenever I write them, so that if you're like me with a mad ADHD brain, or you're got dyslexia or whatever, if you just prefer to absorb your content with the spoken voice rather than the written, I got you. Please like and subscribe so that I can feel validated that I'm not just speaking into the fucking vacuum of space. And I'll see you next time. Sayonara.